Hello, trading is closed on the 13th of December 2021. Let's do our disclaimer that this is my trading plan for tomorrow, the 14th. I can be completely wrong and all trades should be at your own risk. Actually, I won't be trading tomorrow. I have personal business all week. I really have less time than usual to analyze things, and anyone risking money on this should be aware I can be completely wrong. I haven't done the usual amount of analysis I do, and any action you take should be at your own risk. We did have a few calls. Norm Winsky actually had after the close on Friday as a significant change in trend. He has a leeway of a day, but that one so far has turned out to be right on the mark. We said that if we get down and move lower right from the start, I could explain things, and if that didn't happen, I really had no call. That's actually what happened, which is, I guess, good for me, because if it didn't happen, I was kind of at a loss to explain things. We gave a number of reasons. This wall, when the rest of the day was weak on a Friday, we thought was not the action of institutions. Here's what we said. And we outlined 3 reasons to look for trouble today, which we certainly had. Let's look at MEJT stuff today. We had an ultimate sell signal early on that clearly worked. This drop was said to be false and retrace. This rally said would retrace, and that's already played out. Well, this is the best I could come up with to count things. If it's the right count, we're in wave blue C down. It should be pretty steep because blue A was over 200 handles. And if there is some other count, I'm willing to admit it's possible, but I really can't come up with one. That doesn't really tell us for sure what happens Tuesday, though. The one thing I'll be watching for is whether or not we break this low. This was a wall. Here's a gap. Typically, you drop and you find support just under the low of the wall, which was 46.65.98. Now, today's low is within two handles of that, but it didn't really undercut it. If we don't undercut it, if we rally instead, that leaves a target to fill the gap, which should really print at some time. Now, normally when you undercut this, that's support. But if you've already tested support and you rally, the support's gone. So when you do come down to this level again, assuming that that happens, it should be a steep drop. So if we go up without undercutting this number first, it has negative longer-term implications. Now here's a megaphone. These things, these broadening tops have a bad reputation. I think a lot of it's undeserved because in general, my experience is it's very hard to break through the lower trend line. So not only do we have support under 46.65.98, we have support from this trend line, which is around 10 handles under that. Now, support doesn't have to hold. Even though futures are up now, it could still fall. But if we're going to have a tank here, the ideal situation, not absolutely required, but really ideal, would be if we gapped not only under this low, but under this trend line. If we gapped under that trend line and didn't reverse it immediately, it's pretty hard to see how we could stage a recovery. We'd have more confidence this high was going to hold. So if that happened, it's pretty negative, but of course, that's not the only way this thing can play out. As long as this high holds, you can have some other action in here. If this is the right count, it's pretty hard for me to count this leg down, this wave down, as a complete pattern. Now we are getting a volume spike of some sort in the E-mini contract that tends to be associated with lows. My suspicion is we're going to have higher volume to really mark a low of any significance than we've seen, but we have to have our antenna up because it is a spike and there could be a low in here someplace. The wall into the close often is followed by gapping up, but if it continues lower instead, especially under those support levels we talked about, that's pretty ominous stuff. Now tomorrow's pattern should have the early high. Typically it's a negative day. The low occurs in the final hour in general. It's a positive day instead. Further advances tend to be seen soon thereafter. Even if the rest of the day falls, our signals are mixed. We'll use the standard rules we've had for years. Now it's positive that breadth actually improved on this drop. We're near support and we have a wall into the close and the E-mini volume spike. All these tend to occur close to market lows. Doesn't mean we have to hit them tomorrow, but we could be coming close. Now it's negative. The high of day was the first 5 minutes bar, low of day in the last. That really has a strong tendency to follow through. Doesn't work every time. And tomorrow's daily pattern also has a negative tendency. Now futures are up as I record this. Maybe they'll stay up. But if the decline is to continue without interruption, would be ideal, not required, but ideal. If we gap down significantly tomorrow, particularly under those support levels we discussed. But whether or not that happens, we should be in a steep wave blue down, even if we don't go down tomorrow. So it's a chance for a recovery, but if it happens, we should see this number and this number again with a very steep drop. But if something happens overnight, we get the steep drop now, I don't see what's going to let us recover. Tomorrow has the early high. Remember, I've taken less time than usual to do my analysis, and that is today's call.